Weren't you here last week, Laura?
I was. I forgot I had a few things.
Let's all take a nice deep breath of Shabbat. How wonderful it is to just come into our Sabbath, to be able to relax, unwind. We're going to take that moment, that pause that all of us need so that we can really refresh ourselves, which is the purpose of Shabbat. And we'll take a nice deep breath and we'll breathe in all the things that we want, those special memories from this week. And actually we'll go around, think about something that was really special or unique this week that you'd like to share, one thing, and we'll hold on to it, and then we'll let go of everything else. So if you have things that happened this week that were wonderful, maybe a walk, talk with a friend, an opportunity to get around. Anyone do anything special this week? I like it, a nice boring week. Anyone went to DC on the rally? Guess what time we had to wake up in the morning? Well, I put 3. It was actually, we left at 2. Yeah. They said 3, then they said, oh, psych, we have to leave at 2. All right, let's take that nice deep breath. We welcome you here to Congregation Shir Shalom. We're a little short-handed. Cantor, who had a spectacular wedding ceremony for her daughter April last week in Mexico, came back and is under the weather, of course. Bruce is under the weather. Rella's under the weather. Joanne and I are here, and Harvey has graciously, you're probably doing a double take. What's Harvey doing? Wasn't he here last week? We are so blessed. This is a very special service tonight. This is our joint service with North Presbyterian, and we've been doing this for over a decade, or at least a decade. And this is really an opportunity to show the bonds that our community has with one another. And no time has this been more important than this time right now. We make the bonds between our neighbors for times like these. And if you came in today, you might have seen there's a blue poster board with a number of letters from congregations, including North Presbyterian, offering support to our congregation. It has meant the world. We got a wonderful letter in this week from the Sisters of Mary, and that's a really wonderful thing. I'm supposed to remind you at this point, before we begin the service officially, exit doors. Okay? Bathrooms that way. Everyone got a prayer book? It opens the other direction, so just be careful. Page 128, we'll begin with Hine Matovu Manayim.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לה 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 La 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 הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
How wonderful it is for siblings to sit together. And if you have a sibling, you know how hard that is. Clearly the person who wrote that didn't have one, or they had a wonderful relationship with them. We are going to turn to our candle lighting, page 120. And I'm going to do something very unusual. I'm going to have this whole row over here. You guys are the best clappers. Anyone in this row that would like to come up to help light our candles, come on up. You filled the entire row, so you get the bonus there. Now the hard part will be deciding who's going to do the candle lighting. No, yeah, definitely not the teenager. She just had her bat mitzvah. Ayla had her bat mitzvah just 2 weeks ago, I think. We bring in Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech
haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We open our eyes and we hope that the lights of Shabbat will light our way through Shabbat. These are very special candles. These are the first candles in the month of Kislev, which is the month of Hanukkah. So in just a few weeks, we'll be lighting not just 2 candles, but a lot more. Whoever would like to lift our Kiddush cup. Thank you, Linda. Page 123 will sanctify the day of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho B'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemaaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta V'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
Okay.
Yasher koach. Yeah, probably not the time to pass it.
Yasher koach, everybody.
You guys can be seated. Thank you. And thank you for bringing such great ruach, spirit, to our congregation. Before we welcome Shabbat in with L'cha Dodi, I'd like to share a little bit about the rally in D.C. that was this past Tuesday at 1 o'clock. I had a chance to travel down at 2 in the morning. We woke up at 1 in the morning to the disappointment of the Bills. And we traveled down. We had 2 full buses, almost 100 people that came from Buffalo. So a couple of members all the way from Toronto. They missed out on the Torontonian bus and came with us. And we traveled down to FedEx Stadium, parked our buses, and took the metro to all the 10 stops to the Smithsonian stop. And we came out, and suddenly we were surrounded by Jews. It was a very unusual situation. This has only happened a few times, actually, in American history. This was the largest gathering of Jews in America at any time. There was over 250,000. It wasn't all Jews, but almost the entire population, including from my high school. One of my sister kids was there with my high school. They brought 4 busloads from Philadelphia. One of the students from my high school actually spoke. So we came there, and it just went way back. You could see all the way in the distance the Capitol. And it was wonderful to be able to sing Hatikva, to hear the different recollections. The most meaningful thing for me was to hear my childhood hero, Natan Sharansky. Natan Sharansky, you might remember, was the refusenik that was jailed, I believe, for about 17 years just for being Jewish. And there was a whole push to get him out. And back in 1987, he was at the next largest gathering, which was 200,000 Jews in 1987. And it felt so important that he was there in a way in both of those events. I wrote a little poem just as a way of remembering what it was like there, and it's called The Rally in D.C. A murder of crows perch on poplars by FedEx Stadium. They gather watching us as we wait. A long line of buses is collected in the parking lot. We are headed to the Capitol for a rally. Thousands of us are here holding signs announcing we stand with Israel from our various points of origin. After 12 hours of driving, we meander bleary-eyed into the metro, where we board a train to the Smithsonian. I sit with my kids in the plastic seats singing Am Yisrael Chai with a participant from West Orange, New Jersey. The sign my son made has several pictures of his cousins, also from West Orange, now in combat in Gaza. We lift the sign high as we walk up to Pennsylvania Avenue. Behind us, the Washington Monument stands pensive. Our group of 100 Buffalonians meander through the crowd, trying hard to stay close to one another, watching the enlarged face of my childhood hero, Natan Sharansky, welcoming his mishpacha to join together in singing Hatikva in waves of broken verse. Hours later, we return to the bus. I imagine the murder of crows still sitting on poplars, now hidden in darkness as we begin the long journey of heading back home. So we take a little bit of that spirit with us into our service as we welcome in Shabbat officially with Lecha Dodi, page 138 and 139. We're going to sing the first, second, fifth, and ninth verses, 1, 2, 5, and 9. That's again 138, 139. And the ninth verse, we rise, we face the doorway, we imagine Shabbat entering into our sanctuary. We bow to her as if she was a bride, and then we welcome one another by waving.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet v'litila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila la la la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri uri shir daberi, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola Toch emunei am segula Boi chala la la lecha dodi Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela la Lecha dodi Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
What you just saw there, and we remain standing, what we just saw there is exactly why we share spaces with one another. That ritual came from places like North Presbyterian that go around and do the passing of the peace. And I don't know exactly when or how many congregations do this in the Jewish world, but it is an adapted practice because we liked the passing of the peace. And if you come on Sunday, you will see a very similar ceremony. I think you went back to handshaking, right?
Well, yeah.
Sometimes we do it. A couple of months ago, Cantor said, let's go back to it. And then sure enough, we had like a wave of COVID. Yeah. Anyways, this kind of work, we call it the royal wave. If you want to borrow that, that's okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We turn to page 146 as we welcome our community. This is a sacred community that we have, both the people that are gathered here in person, but also the people joining us virtually. Look around at our wonderful congregational community, unique every week.
La 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 Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Let's read together at the top of 147. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. And we're going to turn to Ahavat Olam, page 150.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amecha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu uvekumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Blessed are you, God, who loves us. Page 152, 153, our signal to God, Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
I want to take an opportunity just to share a little bit about the prayer we just did, especially since we have our guest from North Presbyterian here. And there's some things that we do about it that might be a little bit confusing. If you turn back to 152 or 153, you'll notice a number of things that are on the page. First of all, you'll see the letters on the top, which don't have all the dots. And that's because that's the way it's written in the Torah. And this is taken from Deuteronomy 6, and they wanted to evoke that. You also notice that there are two lines. And when we did that first line, we sang it in a particular way. And did you notice, those of you that are guests, that people sang the second line quieter? Did you see that? There actually is no one explanation for that. There's so many rituals that we do that we don't always know the meaning. When I was growing up, I always heard that the reason is because in the second line, and maybe Harvey grew up with this too actually, it says, "Blessed be God who is the king," basically, whose kingship will live forever. And what we got taught growing up was that the Romans didn't like to think about the Jews having another king.
Censored.
They censored it, so we kept it quiet as if. I don't actually quite believe that saying at all. It seems like kind of apocryphal. I guess I could use that word, right? So I actually think there's two reasons I've come to feel why it's powerful and why it's extended. First of all, I think that we don't say it out loud because this verse is not in the Torah. The verse is the Shema, and the next set, the V'ahavta, are in the Torah. So we kind of want an indication this is not part of it. This is sort of a response to it, like we often have. So that's one reason. I think the other thing is there's something about saying something out loud as strong as we can and saying something quietly. It has something to do with how we reveal ourselves to one another, and also being okay with saying things quietly and out loud. Because when we come into spaces, frankly, we're our public presentation, but we also have our inner thoughts and our quiet presentation. Those things go together. And sometimes there's dissonance between those, the outside of ourselves and the inside of ourselves. I feel like the Shema is our way of working that out. That we have a way of saying it's okay to have these things, and we can do this together, and we can acknowledge the different parts of ourselves. So personally, that's where I find meaning. I don't know, did you have any other meanings that you've ever heard?
The second one,
The second
about not being part of the Torah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
But yet
kind
we
of-
say it aloud on Yom Kippur daytime.
Right, there's one day of the year where we say it out loud, which is Yom Kippur, and I always like to think that's when we have to reveal ourselves on that day. You also notice on 154, when Harvey led us in the Via Hafta, that is the melody of the Torah trope. So those of you who've ever read Torah here, that is the melody you use, and it's a good, only for Shabbat, or for the weekday, I guess, as well, but not for holidays. And so it's also a good way of doing it. And the marks, the melody is the punctuation, because the Torah didn't have any punctuation. So we added in with our melody. That's how we define it, so we can understand what's happening. So we are ready now to continue with another verse of Torah, page 158, the crossing of the sea. This is featured prominently when you leave. The Holocaust Torah we have displayed there has the Mi Chamocha from the Song of the Sea. So take a look on your way out of our sanctuary.
5th of Kislev.
Oh yes, so we're going to do it in a special way, right? Because this is...
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokea yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Eli anu v'yamaru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai ga'al Yisrael.
Before you turn the page, Harvey, you sang this in a melody of what's called the Ma'ut Sur, the most popular melody on Hanukkah, and we have Hanukkah in just a few weeks, so that's the way of announcing it. But the Mi Chamocha is actually very central to Hanukkah, and Harvey's the one who taught me this. Do you want to share what it is? About the meaning of the Maccabees, yeah.
You've all heard of the Maccabees. Well, the Maccabees got their name by the initials of Mi Chamocha Ba'ilim Adonai. Mem Kaf Bet Yud spells Maccabee.
Right, so if you ever hear, it's not the family name of Judah the Maccabee, it's actually taken an acronym from that first line on page 158. So it's even more important. We're going to rise for the Amidah, the standing prayer. It starts on page 164, and we'll do the beginning out loud.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
On the next page now.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
On the next page.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
Page 170.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue quietly through our private prayers on page 180, and whenever you're ready, you may be seated.
עושה שלום במרמיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
V'imru, v'imru, amen. We're going to turn to our prayers for healing on page 371, the Mishaberach. First, we are going to add to the list a number of people. Cantor, we'll put Bruce, We'll put Rella and Sheila as well. And I'm going to read our list that's already prepared. If you ever have names you want to offer into our office, just call the office. Or let us know that someone is going back home. That's always good as well. After I read the list of names, if you have other names you want to say out loud today, just raise your hand and we'll go around the room. We are thinking about, as our spiritual community, Gail Ackerholt, Gary Bernstein, Stephen Bernstein, Paul Bink, Colleen Cohen, Alan and Karen Cooper, Shelley Cordiero, Rella Corris, Sue Diath, David Denzel, Jan Drucker, Nancy Durkin, Wissam Almalki, Sue Frank, Jessica Gazdovich, Marlene Glickman, Carolyn and Ernie Grossier, Hillary Hurwitz, Ellen Kaminsky, Colleen and Ruth Kane, Jordan Kaufman, Ken Kellick, Mark Nightinger, Barbara Krigston, Emily Langen, Miles Levy, Nancy Levinas, Frederick Lynette, Darlene Lloyd, Beth Marcus, Fanny Markel, Carrie Moscato, Aaron Nevler, Joan Ollendorf, Jo Marie Powers, Maddie Rinzenberg, Shel Rossi, Brandon Ryan, Mary Scioli, Harvey Sirota, Lorenzo Stewart, Emily Strong-Tallman, Judy Van Horn, Elaine Vasilevsky, Iris Weinstein, Mike Whaler, Alexander Woods, Gail Zaretsky, Chana Chaya Batslatki, Nachum Ben Yisrael Vachaya, and Chana Ezra Ben Shul. If you have other names, just raise your hand.
Except for in
Bat Ami, Bat Shual, Bat Ami, Bat Shulamit, and Ann Scalfani.
Sherry Dwyer, Faith Dwyer, and Megan Whitney.
Tony Romano and Arlene Holtwitz.
Roberta Friedman, Marsha Friedman, and all the Israeli soldiers that have been injured this past week.
Abracha, Bernice, and Louis.
God knows it, don't worry.
Rose Wood. Anna Weinberg and Martin Walker.
We'll bring all those names into our hearts as we sing the Misha Baruch again, 371.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
A complete healing of body and spirit. And Russ, that was perfect timing for the sneeze, so thank you. I wanted to also just let you know, Jordan Kaufman is a young person that's on this list. I think maybe Linda had him years ago, I don't know. Kaufman is Kaufman. He had.
It's the same one. They used the name Kaufman now
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of Crowley. That's a grandmother's name.
Yeah, Crawley, yeah. And he finally got his kidney.
Oh.
So I haven't heard, he'd been waiting for a long time. He was born with a lot of defects, and he's now in his 20s. Very strong, amazing human being, but he'd been waiting to get a kidney for a long time. He finally was able to get one. So that's a wonderful, wonderful news. Okay, so you can sit down. We're going to bring up my friend Reverend Hennessy over here. We decided when we were thinking about what we were going to talk about, when we met a couple weeks ago, and we thought the best topic this year was shalom, peace, pax, paz, what do we say?
Pax.
Pax.
But,
So wanted to read a poem first before we start with our discussion. This is by Herschel Matt, and I think it helps to explain the importance of peace, but also from the Jewish perspective. Mm-hmm. When the blessing of shalom is lacking, however much we have of other blessings, wealth or power, fame or family, even health, these all appear as nothing. But when shalom is present, however little else we have somehow seems sufficient. So we're going to have a discussion, just this idea, this abstract idea of peace, which we use all the time, right? Peace. And it's something that's in a lot of our prayers. It's in a lot of our conversations. You know, why can't the world be more peaceful? But actually, peace is a very ambiguous term. So we thought together that it would be a good idea to just explore this between Judaism and Christianity, what the differences are and how we approach it, even though we're saying the same word, especially in English. So, Bill, what would you say when you're thinking?
Well,
about
yeah.
Christianity?
When I think about peace, I think about a sense of calm, right? And for instance, yesterday I was able to get out for a bike ride, which in the middle of November is pretty rare. And just to be outside and in the stillness of that. And so that instills in me a sense of peace. And for me, it also helps me to feel connected, with creation, with other people. In Christianity, peace is, I think, often understood as an inner experience, that we seek sort of an inner peace. But when you look at the Gospels, Jesus talks about not just an inner peace, but also how that is then expressed in the world and through acts of compassion and justice. So, Jesus, of course, is Jewish. He draws from the Jewish tradition of justice and understands that these two things are related. They always go together. So, you've heard that slogan, without justice, there is no peace. And that would be, I think, a commonly held belief among Christians.
I have a question, actually, because I noticed, especially in this time, a lot of our prayers in the Jewish world are with peace. Almost every, especially at the end of our prayers, whether it's the Kaddish or the mourner's Kaddish, which ends with the Oseh Shalom, but sprinkled throughout our service, Shalom comes up quite a bit. Is that the same thing in the Christian liturgy?
Yeah, it does. At the beginning of our service, when we do the greeting, it's passing the peace. Mm-hmm. And so we're wishing peace to one another. And in our other, like our affirmation of faith, often centers around peace. But again, it's sort of that dual understanding of an inner experience as well as sort of an expression in the world.
Mm-hmm. I've always understood from the Hebrew word, or had been taught, that shalom comes from the sense of shlemut, of wholeness. That I always imagine a circle. Peace is a circle that's complete, a feeling that everything is kind of, like you say, centered. But I think in Judaism, because it's so tied to a place in a way that Christianity isn't, I would think.
No, I think so.
Peace is really about peace in Israel, peace in Jerusalem.
Right.
that it's really tied to that sense of actually not having war. And so much of what we learn about in our history is war and strife. And so much what we see in our contemporary history is war and strife. So it is really understood, for those of you here in this room that have visited Israel, Israel is a place which has had moments where there's a lot of peace, where, you know, I know that it's peace in Israel when I can make a plane ticket and not have to cancel it. Right? I've been to Israel about 10 times, and about 7 of those times were in times of some major conflict. And because that's extended over the four decades that I've been traveling to Israel, 80s, 90s, 10s, aughts, so yeah, and soon probably the 20s. It really is kind of a sense of, when you don't have war, that is peace. So it's, you know, in that way it's not abstract.
Right, yeah. I think it was Benjamin Franklin once said, you know, there's no such thing as a good war or a bad peace. And I don't know if I entirely believe that, but I think what he means is when you're in a state of war, you are limited. You've cut off a lot of your options because you have a single sort of goal, and that's to destroy the enemy. When you're at peace, suddenly you're able to be creative, and you can see the world in a broader way. And there are a lot of possibilities that open up when you're at peace. You know, that idea of peace in Israel, I think for us, you know, so much of our tradition and the Gospels are rooted in the prophets. And one of the main ones is Isaiah. And one of the themes in Isaiah is this sense that Israel is meant to be a beacon. So it's not just that Israel's meant to be a self-contained place only for the people of Israel, but it's meant to be a beacon for the world to gather. And when Israel is at war, then that shuts all that off, because we put up the barriers when we're at war. But when there's peace, then it becomes possible to welcome the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something. I was thinking about this in terms of, in the high holidays I spoke about it. During times of war, actually, there is a lot of creativity. And there is actually a lot of energy and resilience, and people come together. Right. And that's sort of the irony. There could be a sense of peace even in war. But it's interesting in terms of Jewish history, because most of Jewish history, we had no control over the places we lived. So we never were declaring war. You know, for 2,000 years, war was maybe we had things that were thrust upon us.
Right. Yeah.
But we had no army.
Right.
We had no military. Today it means something very different, and it's so much more complicated, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering, maybe we could go around. Peace is such an important idea in all of our lives, and I'm curious to hear what people have to say. If you have your own comments, if you're able to rise, we do have a microphone over here. If not, I'll relay your words. So think about it. What are your ideas? What does peace mean to you? Yeah, Zena, and I'll relay your words.
Okay. Peace for me is actually more external than internal. It is about getting along in your playground, getting along with the people around you. It's about shalom bayis, peace in the household. And I guess I never really thought about
So Zena was saying it's not internal for her. It's peace is an external thing. How we get along. She mentioned shalom bayit. How we interact with each other, making sure we have peaceful relations, not that kind of internal peace. It's a different type of peace. One is very practical. The other one it's much harder to achieve, I think, internal peace. Other ideas about peace? Yeah, Laura.
Mine is actually the exact opposite. Peace is usually my go-to phrase when somebody I know has gone through something difficult. The loss of a loved one or a severe illness. I'm always telling them I'm praying for peace and comfort for them. That they find peace. Because sometimes your whole world can be turned upside down by the loss or the illness or whatever. So I usually tend to think of peace as my go-to phrase to wish someone when they're going through a hard time.
So Laura, who comes from the healthcare field, often when she sees someone who's having, especially a health crisis, she wishes them peace, internal peace. And that's how she relates to peace. I think I saw a hand over here. It's such a big idea that we talk about all the time, but sometimes it's hard to actually get out what does it mean, yeah. And what's your name again? I'm sorry. Olivia.
I have one thought, and that is when Jeff and I have been to Israel 2 years ago, and just what a sacred place it was, and I just can't even imagine what is going on there now. But I feel like the people that are living that are trying to find moments of peace in the midst of all that turmoil. Somehow they must be celebrating a family meal together, or celebrating the birth of a child, or just there must be something that they have to hold on to create peace in their life when everything else is just turned upside down. So that creativity, even in the midst of war, I think still goes on. Has to.
So Olivia was saying, even here in Israel, where when there's war, people are trying to find moments of peace. And actually, my nephews who are one's in Gaza and one's in northern Israel, the one who just had a baby, they actually send picture, because it's such a small place. So when they're going off to war, they rotate. And so actually he's home. I'm not sure if both of them are home for Shabbat. So they actually, every couple of weeks, they would go home to Shabbat, have a normal Shabbat experience, and then go back to the front lines. And it's sort of a rotating, it's a very unusual thing. Usually in America, we think about wars being very far away from us. And so for those, I know we do have some military people here that have shipped out, you're not coming home for the weekend. You're going out, and then however long your tour of duty is, and then you're coming back. In Israel, it isn't like that. I've heard stories about mothers calling up the prime minister and saying, my son hasn't been home for Shabbat for 3 weeks. Can you send him?
Wow.
Well, I think this is a great way to start our conversation. And I think it's really important. We'll continue it on Sunday. And I'd like to do another reading by Yehuda Amichai. Yehuda Amichai, when we went on our trip to Israel, was kind of what we based everything around. He's the poet laureate. He passed about 20 years ago. But he wrote a wonderful poem about peace, and he actually added an addendum that I'd like to add. It's called Wild Peace. And, coming from Israel, a lot of his poetry is written during the 1967, 1973, and I think he fought in the War of Independence as well. Not that of a ceasefire, let alone the vision of the wolf and the lamb, but rather as in the heart after a surge of emotion, to speak only about a great weariness. I know that I know how to kill, that's why I am an adult. And my son plays with a toy gun that knows how to open and close its eyes and say, Mama. A peace without the big noise of beating swords into plowshares, without words, without the heavy thud of the rubber stamp. I want it gentle over us like lazy white foam, a little rest for the wounds. Who speaks of healing? And the orphan's outcry is passed from one generation to the next, as in a relay race, that baton never falls. I want it to come like wildflowers, suddenly, because the field needs it. Wild peace. And here's the appendix. Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Reverend Hennessy.
Just wanted to share,
Oh,
at
yeah,
North, since the beginning of the war in Israel, we've been, ending our services with the song Dona Nobis Pacem. It's Latin, "Give us peace," which is, Latin. We don't use Latin much in the Presbyterian Church. We got rid of Latin a long time ago. But that's the one thing that we can that we have adopted. So I thought I'd share that, and some of the folks from North know this as well. And if you want to join, that would be great.
Wonderful, thank you.
Dona nobis pacem pacem, dona nobis 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 pacem.
Beautiful.
Give us peace.
He asked me to do a duet, but I thought his voice is a lot nicer. Harvey's going to do a refrain of the Oseh Shalom that we sang before, page 180. And this is a prayer that we often sing with different melodies. It does say for the peace of Israel, but since we often have added all the world as well, all Yoshvei Tevel. 180 at the bottom.
This melody does not have the Yoshvei Tevel, I'm sorry. It's an old melody.
You can add it in.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, hu yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel, ve'imru amen.
We rise for Aleinu, page 586.
Aleinu l'shapeach ba'adon hakol, v'atei gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 591.
V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo Ushemo
You may be seated. And we turn to the mourner's Kaddish. We welcome anyone here who's in mourning, and we hope the service has offered some comfort. We offer, first of all, we're thinking about Alan Lackner, Eugene Margulis, Abby Robbins, Martin Robinson, Howard Wolf, and Aryeh Wood, who died in the last month. On our yahrzeit list from years past, we remember Albert Barbach, Frederick Barish, Phyllis Barish, Mildred E. Boslov, Bertha Bruder, Louis M. Bunis, Louis Cantor, Catherine Faxstein, Beatrice Frank, Mildred Frank, Jacob Fry, Isidore Friedman, Abraham Gamler, Natalie Glickman, Myra Horowitz. Oh, I didn't realize. That's very important for you tonight, George. Yeah. George Iggers, Edmund Karnofsky, Morris Katz, Cantor Harry Hart Kaufman, Harry Lane, Robert Lassus, Libby Linder, Beatrice T. Lipsitz, Esther Rosenfeld Lipsitz, Shirley Marcusy, Edward Piquel, Solomon Pohl, George Rosenfeld, Rose L. Rosegarden, Helen Rosikoff, Henrietta Cohen Schechter, Judy Shirelitz, David Schulafan, Betty Schuster, Helen Sherman, Sadie Silverman, Finkelstein, Lynn Slater, Ethel Tansky, Louis Wasserman, and Stephen Zaffia. If there's other names you'd like to offer? Yeah, Frank?
Bobby Sarkeesian.
Those whose custom it is to rise, page 598.
Gadol v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Yomah divrach yiratei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen.
Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach
le'olam u'mei omaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh.
Yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudshah b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yoma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu yaseh shalom,
Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel b'imru.
Amen.
May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. And we say,
Amen.
You may be seated. Zikronam livracha. May their memory be for a blessing. And standing in for a Bruce chorus at 5 foot something or other, 5'3", we have our executive director, Joanne Marcusy. This is for the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good to see you here. We'd like to thank our service greeters tonight, Linda Bergman and Betsy Zappia. Thank you so much for helping us. And a very special thank you to Rabbi Alex and Harvey Horowitz for sharing a lovely Shabbat service with us. Our virtual offering on Saturday is Torah study via Zoom. It's Temple Basetics Zoom at 9 a.m., and it's also in person, and it's followed by the Shabbat morning service at 10:45. The People of the Book speaker series, sponsored by PJ Library and the JCC, presents a family program with our very own Rabbi Alex on Sunday at the Explore and More Museum from 12 until 3:30. And you do need to register using a QR code that's on their flyer. Thank you to everyone that volunteered for Shabbatas this week or purchased Shabbatas. We appreciate your help. It truly makes a difference, and we have one left on December 5th. And then it will take about a 3-month break. Shir Shalom and Rabbi Alex are going to Panama in May. Darcy Kramer and Jim Cornell invite our CSS community for an 8-day, 7-night adventure to Panama. The approximate cost is $2,500 per person, and a deposit of $500 is due by December 15th. And if you would like more information, just call the temple office for the itinerary. If you get a chance to walk down to the open area, we've painted. We now have a new floor. We have a new ceiling, and we're very excited, so we hope you'll enjoy it as well. And thank you to Todd Sugarman for leading these projects. And for Tikkun Olam.
You walked in at the right part. Todd just walked in.
Oh. I guess he heard me. Our Tikkun Olam committee is doing a special event tomorrow. There's an outreach to our east side neighbors, and they will be taking a tour of the Nash House Museum at 12:30. And if you're interested, let me know and I'll give you the contact phone number. It's tomorrow. Our monthly collection is going to our Thanksgiving Basket Project with North Presbyterian Church. If you'd like to donate anything, it's not too late. Gift cards are needed, checks are needed for turkeys and other items. And the project of putting all the baskets together is tomorrow morning and Sunday morning at 9 at North Presbyterian. And from our Women of Shir Shalom, we want to thank everyone who volunteered to help for the rummage sale or who shopped. It was a great day, so thank you. And the Women of Shir Shalom are also offering a Becker Farms pie and fudge event, and orders have already closed, and the pickup is this Sunday and on Tuesday. If you need anything, reach out to Rabbi or Cantor when she's back, and Todd and Bruce when he's back, and myself. If you need anything, wish you all Shabbat Shalom and happy Thanksgiving, and please join us for the Oneg Shabbat. Thank you.
All right, Joanne, stay there for a second. Happy birthday to you. It was on Wednesday, right? Tuesday.
Thank you.
To you. Happy birthday, dear Joanne. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How old are you? I know how old you are.
Two very important announcements. Sunday morning at North Presbyterian, we have the second part of this, and we'll be continuing the conversation over there. And actually, Max and Kim Goldhirsch will be there to sing Sim Shalom, our prayer for peace over there. So that's wonderful, and I hope that some of our Shir Shalom members, those of you that have been in the past, it's a wonderful experience and a great community, our neighboring community on North Forest. On Monday night, there is the multi-faith Thanksgiving service. That is at Westminster Presbyterian downtown. It's opposite the Jewish Community Center in Temple Beth Zion, and that's at 7 o'clock. This year's message is Thanksgiving During Uncertain Times, Messages of Hope. So it should be a very meaningful, and they encourage you to bring donations as well. It doesn't say that on here, but I think that's the case. Okay. All right, we're going to conclude with Adon Olam, page 625.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, Terem Kol, Yisir Nivra, Liek Nasa, V'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'yacharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora Adon Olam, Vehu Haya, Vehu Hove, Vehu Yiyeh Betifara Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
V'terem Kol,
V'terem Kol,
Yitzir Nivra, Liek Nasa, V'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Vehu Echad, V'ein Sheni, Lehamshilo Lehachbira Adon Olam, Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, Velo ha'oz ve'hamisra Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem kol,
B'terem kol,
Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa,
Nasa,
V'chefzo kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Eli, V'chai Goali, V'tzur Chevli B'et Tzara Adon Olam, V'hu Nisi Umanos Li, Minat Kosi B'yom Ekra Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem kol,
B'terem kol,
Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa,
Li'et Nasa,
V'chefto kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, B'yado Afkin Ruchi, Be'et Ishan Ve'a'ira Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruchi Geviyati, Adonai li velo ira Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem kol,
B'terem kol,
Yitzir Nivra, Li'et
Li'et
Nasa,
Nasa,
V'chefto kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam.
I'd like to actually invite the Zappias up here to lead us in Challah. We'll do it. Come on, come on. This is in honor of the patriarch of the family, Stephen Zappia, who I guess it's our second yard site. Is it first? Third. Oh boy. Yeah, whichever way. There's whichever way you came, that's the right way. Here, come out. And just hold it up. Do they have Kala in Casablanca? We already asked that last time. All right, let's pull it off. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. As you came in peace, may you leave in peace. We wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. Please put your prayer book minus the leaflet back in the front. And that challah is your guys. You got it.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, we eat it on Sunday.
Oh, you brought such
Having a
great
Bill's
roux.
Sunday. Having a Bill's Sunday. Thank you.
It's good
Thank
for
you so
French
much.
toast.
Yeah, I'm down with that. That's a good idea.
I stole the one last week because my daughter had 7 friends over.
It's
My
the
wife
best.
said, you better get the challah. We need to make French toast.
Oh, it's
And they ate all of it.
Of course they did.
Harvey, very nice job.
Thank you, very nice. Nice outline. Where did you say the buses park? The temple?
At the GCC. Oh, but then when we went there, FedEx Field. It's where the Washington. Oh, I forget their new name. Commanders. Yeah, Commanders.